So the Western Conference Finals kicked off on Wednesday night. The Mavericks got the win over the Timberwolves. Game 2 is tonight. Goddamn, how about Kyrie Irving in Game 1? Giving Ant and Jaden McDaniels the business all game long.
Yep, Kyrie carried the first half for the Mavericks. Luka finished it off. And Kyrie right now, he's holding it down for the OGs. Like LeBron's out, Steph didn't make it, KD's out. Kyrie's the last OG left, and he's trying to win that second title.
Before we start talking about Kyrie, if you haven't already, make sure to leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. So I don't think it's unfair to say that Kyrie Irving has had an up and down last 8 years. I mean, obviously won the title in 2016 with the Cavaliers, hit arguably the greatest shot in NBA history in Game 7 to give them the lead that they would never relinquish. Went back to the finals the next year with the Cavs, but they lost in 5 to Golden State. And after that, shocked the NBA world by demanding that trade from the Cavaliers. I mean, reports were that he wanted a chance to lead his own team, and also that his relationship with LeBron at this point had gone kind of icy, wasn't the best. Got his wish, was sent to Boston for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and that Nets first round pick. And I'm sure this whole trade will get its own video in the future, but really just a trade that did not work for either side in hindsight.
Yeah, for the Cavs, Isaiah Thomas just barely even played for them. He had that hip injury. And then for the Celtics, you make the conference finals, you push LeBron to 7. Like, you're thinking, okay, like, you add Kyrie to this team, that's a championship level team. And then they regress, they win 49 games instead of 55, and just such a turbulent season. Like, Kyrie was trying to be a leader. I think his heart was in the right place, but like at that stage of his career, he just didn't know how to quite handle it properly.
And I don't want to put it all on Kyrie because I'm sure, you know, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Terry Rozier, they probably weren't super receptive to Kyrie because they were like, oh, we made it to the conference finals like without you. Of course, there was the midseason apology that Kyrie made to LeBron where he apologized for being, you know, too immature during his time in Cleveland. I mean, whether he meant it or not, I think this was also kind of a message to the rest of the Celtics. It's like, hey guys, I'm LeBron now. Like in a couple years, you don't know it now, but you're going to look back and be like, oh man, you know, Kyrie was just trying to lead us and we didn't understand it. That was definitely a message to his Celtics teammates.
The Kyrie modern day would be the perfect guy for this team to lead them, but like Kyrie at the time still had a lot to learn the league. So yeah, that was definitely a message for his teammates. They swept the Pacers in the first round, you know, things were looking good. And then they played the Bucks in Game 1. They beat them down. Paul Pierce said the series was over.
He was kind of right.
To be honest, he was right. I mean, the Bucks dominated the rest of the series. They win the next 4 games. And for the Celtics, you go out in 5 in the second round after making the conference finals the year prior. Just such a disappointing season for this Boston Celtics team.
And by the end of it, I mean, you could just tell by like the body language on the court. Kyrie was done with the Celtics and the Celtics were kind of done with Kyrie. And that offseason, he was off to Brooklyn. Just a laundry list of things that went wrong. And look, whether you think Kyrie was completely in the right, completely in the wrong, or somewhere in the middle, I think we can all agree he was causing a lot of unnecessary distractions for this team. I mean, hell, it basically ran James Harden out of town.
It's got to be like somewhere in the middle. Obviously, that Nets front office didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Dysfunctional to say the least.
Yeah, an awful situation all around. And at this time, like Kyrie's reputation, whether you think it was fair or not, was in a awful place. I mean, we'll talk about the trade package here in a second, but like people were wondering like what team would want him. Like obviously the Lakers would take him. They were struggling with Russ, and Kyrie and LeBron, like pairing them up together would be great. Miami, people were saying like Heat culture. And then there were other teams kind of like the Mavericks who eventually got him that kind of felt like they were a piece away from contending. But I mean, not a lot of people were super high on Kyrie. Not a lot of people wanted to sign him long term. Like his reputation was just in the worst spot of his career by far at this time.
Well, it's also because like in the 22-23 season, it seemed like the Nets were finally putting it all together. Remember, they had that 12-game winning streak from early December to early January. Kyrie was playing some of the best ball of his career. So was KD. They got up to the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they were balling out. And then the Nets don't want to offer Kyrie a long-term extension because he's been super unreliable. And he's like, nah, trade me. And it's like, dude, you were on your way to getting that extension if you just played the year out, but you blow it up mid-season. So yeah, his rep was not great at this point, but he did get traded. He got got shipped off to Dallas. And just to like put it into perspective, this was a post Gobert and Donovan Mitchell trade NBA, also post Paul George trade. So this was a time where superstars were going for a ton of first round picks, plus young players too. And Kyrie Irving only went for Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and 1 first round pick.
I mean, think about what the Pacers just traded for Siakam. They gave up 3 first round picks for Siakam, and that was a great trade. Like, it's worked out for them. It's helped them in the playoffs. This ain't like knocking that trade.
But he's not Kyrie Irving.
No, and Kyrie Irving for 1 first round pick, not even 2. I mean, it just kind of goes to show like Kyrie's reputation at the time. It just was not in a good spot to the point where you could only fetch a first round pick from him. I know his contract was just ending as well, but that is just crazy in hindsight.
Yeah, and I mean, according to reports, Kyrie was ecstatic about the trade and apparently was really open to the idea of playing with Luka. And we covered this a bit in our Mavericks video from last week. So long story short, he got there, they got worse. They went 5-11 in games that Luka and Kyrie played. Yes, they tanked. Yes, they had injuries, but a really bad ending to the season. They don't even make the play-in tournament. And coming into this season, neither of us really thought they were going to do much because they can't guard a stick. Also, Kyrie kind of injury prone. So we didn't have a lot of expectations for them. And we talked about it in our Mavericks video. We focused a lot on Luka and the supporting cast because they've been great and they deserve their flowers. And we didn't really touch on Kyrie too much. And that's our mistake because he's been excellent this year.
Yeah, on offense, 25.6 points a game, nearly 50% shooting, shot the 3-ball great this year, 41%. He's been exactly what the Mavericks needed. Like, should you just surround Luka with 3-and-D players? Well, you need at least one more co-star to take that offensive load off. It's helped them both focus on defense more this season because they got more energy now. And yeah, he's been great as that second guy. He's had some classic Kyrie moments as well. That just ridiculous left-handed floater to beat the Nuggets that one game. He dropped 48 against a red-hot Houston Rockets a month later in the season. And he stayed just completely focused on basketball this entire time. He's locked in. The organization's been a great fit. And he has actually been a very good leader for this team as well.
Oh, he's been an incredible leader. I don't know if it's just the way his personality matches with Luka, because Luka at times, he could be a little bit of a hothead. He can be a little fiery, you know, he can get his team going, but he can also kind of complain to the refs a lot. And Kyrie this year, he's kind of been that like cool, calm, steady leader, you know, steadies the ship in a time of crisis. He has been a phenomenal veteran leader for a pretty young team.
Yeah, and in the playoffs, I mean, first round, he had some great moments. He dropped 40 in game 4, including that just ridiculous double clutch layup over 3 Clippers players. Lost that game, but still great performance. Then in game 6, he drops 30, including that 4-point play over PJ Tucker that sealed things. And in the Thunder series, he did struggle shooting for sure, but a lot of people said in our last video, like, he was doing everything else for the team. He had their second highest plus minus. So that's the thing. At this stage in his career, he doesn't necessarily need to be giving you like 30 points, 25 points to affect a game. He can do a lot of other things. And then how about that game against the Timberwolves in game 1? First of all, Anthony Edwards basically calls him out, said like, Kyrie, you're next. And like, I love it from both sides. Kyrie said that motivated him.
It's a bold strategy from Anthony Edwards.
Very bold. And in game 1, Kyrie, especially early on, was just cooking. And if he doesn't cook early in that first quarter with the way the Timberwolves were shooting, Jaden McDaniels was shooting, I think the Mavericks kind of are down like 10 and never get it back, but he kept them alive in that first half.
Yeah, and I mean, he cooled off in the second half a bit, but he was still making Ant work on defense. And I mean, you could tell down the stretch, Ant was gassed from having to stay with Kyrie that entire game.
Yeah, the Mavericks end up winning 108-104. Kyrie started things off. Luka closed things. They take a 1-0 lead. And now game 2 is tonight. We'll see if the Mavericks could win this. I mean, man, they might be damn near head of the finals at that point. And I gotta say, I'm rooting for a Mavericks Celtics finals now, because imagine Kyrie going back to Boston against his former team, against that fan base. Remember?
Stomps on Lucky again.
Yeah, flips them off like the last time when he was playing for the Nets. Like, whew, that would be fun.
Yeah, that would really be amazing. And I just, again, I want to give credit to Kyrie because it's so obvious that he learned a lot from his experiences in Boston and in Brooklyn. I mean, I think he had a great quote when he was talking with Inside the NBA after the game, where he was talking about like how he had to lead the team, and in the locker room, like before the game, he was talking about how a lot of the guys who hadn't been there before, like, you know, they were nervous, they were tight, as you would be. This is the biggest game that a lot of those guys have played up to this point, and Kyrie, having been there before, having won a championship, he came out, he set the tone, he let everyone know it's like, all right, guys, we're here, we're gonna focus in, we're gonna play good ball. That is the mark of a true leader. It's something he wouldn't have been able to do 3, 4, 5 years ago. So the fact that he's doing it now, I'm with you. I'm rooting for them at this point. That's the video, guys. What do you think of Kyrie this year? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.